Okay, getting ready for our final race before a lunch break. 15-minute race for the Simply Serviced pre-2003 touring cars and the Laser Tools pre-93 touring cars run by the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. And the grid reads as follows. Pole position is Gary Preville in his Honda Civic, and the later shaped Civic of Alex A.J. Owen, the reigning pre-03 champion, starts alongside him, continuing their rivalry from earlier this year. Second row, Don Hughes, number 148, he's in a Peugeot 306, alongside the first of the pre-93 cars, reigning champion David Griffin in his BMW. Mainly BMWs in pre-93, mainly Civics in pre-03. The third row, a pair of Civics, 108 Jamie Primet and 105 Cameron Tunio. Fourth row, another Civic, that's Ross Craig, number 169, and number 90 Ian Bowers, BMW. Fifth row, another pair of BMWs, 33 Andy Cripps, 95 Kevin Willis. Row 6, 147 Matthew Rowling, he's also in a Civic alongside a BMW of Graham Myers. Row 7, yet another Civic, Phil Wright, number 131, and treble 3 Mark Shepherd, breaking the Honda and BMW dominance, he's in a Volkswagen Vento. Row 8, number 3, Thomas Harvey. He's in a Mark 1 Escort, starting alongside the rare Rover Tomcat Coupe of David Nixon. The ninth row, 128 Daniel Stewart in his Jaguar XJS, starts alongside 111 Taylor Norton, the former karting champion. He's in a Honda Civic. On row 10, the Civic of Vic Hope, number 251, starts alongside 26 Sam Goodwin. He's in a Vauxhall Astra GTE. Row 11, 192 John Hillier, he's in a BMW E36 Touring, yes Touring as in estate car, alongside 146 Alex Stevenson, he's in a Honda Accord, ex-BTCC production category car. 12th row, 75 Trevor Kiffin with his Alfa Romeo, alongside 114 Steve Barber, ex-Pre-05 touring car champion, he's also Honda powered. And the final row of the grid will be Jake Margulies, and number 56, not Michael Sheraton, it's Andy Sheraton, driving the car in this one, Michael's father, taking the wheel of the BMW E30 alongside the similar car of Jake Margulies. So awaiting the cars, then there's a couple of cars just being cleared off circuit at the moment. Alistair Lindsay's Seat and the Clio of Tony Davies and James Colburn being towed in. So we can head down to Ewan Dunlop in the paddock, who caught up with some of the drivers a bit earlier on.
Paddock with David Griffin. David, fastest in qualifying this morning. Tell us about your lap.
Well, it was, I think it was the only clear lap we got. There's a lot of cars out there. We're on the short Indy circuit. We kind of knew that it would be 15 minutes. You had to set a banker lap up front and then just try to get a fast one in at the end. And a little gap opened up in front of me. I think we could have gone a little quicker, but I was pretty happy to get P1 in the end.
So with a bit of clean air, I think you can go faster on the race then?
Yeah, it's one of those tracks where you've got to be a bit careful because you can be you're thinking you're going faster and then suddenly you can be off the track at paddock or something like that. So the idea will be to get in front and then try and hold that lead on the pre-93 cars.
And how's your season going so far? Had a couple of wins, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. We're the champion from last year, so we kind of go into it with everyone watching to see what we're doing a bit. And we had a problem at Silverstone, which took us out of race 2, so we're out of the championship a bit, but we still got the speed to be right up the front, and it just depends a bit on which track we're at and how much experience I've had at it and those kind of things.
So this is the championship car from last year. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's a pretty standard M3, I guess 1993 E36. The colour scheme that we've got on it is from Australia, which is where I'm from, and we've done that as a bit of a tribute to the way they raced these cars back in '93, back in the day. So it's I've raced it for about 8 years, and it's been getting better and better. Where Suffolk Racing run it for me, and they just do a tremendous job, and they've stuck with me through all that time.
We've had a great day so far. Best of luck with the race this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. We'll need it.
Cars on the grid then for our race for the pre-93 and pre-03 touring cars. Mainly a mix of Hondas and BMWs out there, as you can see. The pre-03 championship sponsored by Simply Serviced, owned and run by Simon Beamont. And obviously we extend our best wishes to him after the incident yesterday. Last couple of cars coming onto the grid then. I think we can head back down to pit lane where Ewan's got hold of James Black, our Clio class winner from Britcar.
It's fine, I'll do that, it's fine, no show.
So here we are in the pit lane with James Black, winner of the Clio class. Congratulations, that's your first win, James.
It is, I mean, it's fantastic, you know, it's just, compared to the Gen 4, it's a little bit slower, but we proved them wrong today, managed to get the win. Changeable condition on the track, but just kept it on the black stuff, and here we are, we've won the class.
Because you're qualified third, you've been on the podium plenty of times, but what does that do for now for your season? How does that push you on?
Oh, you know, last year in the Saxos I wasn't confident at all, but this animal has made me so much confident, so much trust in the team and the guys. Can't thank them enough and all my sponsors. And looking forward, we've got 2 more rounds left. I hope, you never know, could get another win, but hope to be on the podium once more.
And just before we started, heavens opened. As a racing driver on the grid when that happens, what's going through your mind?
I was just trying to maintain tyre temperature. We're on the Dureza tyre, so we weren't on full slick, so that was a bit of a lucky thing, you could say. But just kept on the back side. The track soon dried and saw other competitors fly off, but then came in when the safety car came out and we won. It's fantastic.
So you got one more race today, just chill out for the next couple of hours?
Oh yeah, I mean, the forecast looks changeable again, so we could lock in with a wet race, we don't know. Plenty of practice on Friday, but yeah, no, just chilling now. Probably start some more grass now.
Brilliant.
But yeah, should be
James,
fun.
Congratulations, good luck with race number 2. Coming back to you, Dave, your commentator.
Thank you.
Cars heading round on their green flag lap then. And the rivalry between Honda Civic pilots Gary Preville and AJ Owen sets to continue. Gary Preville, known as the King of Castle Combe, has won many titles down at the Wiltshire circuit in their domestic saloon series over the years with various cars. There he is in the white car, alongside the reigning Pre-03 champion AJ Owen in his Honda Civic. Looks like the early 2000s BTCC cars. Pre-93 champion David Griffin, the Australian, on row 2 in the Diet Coke liveried car. Some great tribute liveries, the Castrol Civic there of Phil Wright, the rare Rover Tomcat of David Nixon, long-time saloon racer, and the Caliber Lager liveried car there. That's one of the production class cars from the British touring cars in the early 2000s. I think James Kay and Jim Edwards Jr. are among those who raced those cars in period. Cars coming up to the grid then for the combined race for simply serviced pre-2003 touring cars and the Laser Tools pre-93 touring car championship. Gary Preville on pole alongside AJ Owen. Don Hughes in the Peugeot 306 on the second row alongside the first of the pre-93 cars, David Griffin. One car we are missing, I've noticed, Graham Myers, number 9. His BMW is not there, so it looks like he's a non-starter, unfortunately. There's a pair of BMWs. Kevin Willis, who had a couple of wins in the previous meeting for the pre-93s at Castle Combe. That's alongside Andy Cripps, the green number 33. Jamie Primet and Cam Tunio, both Brands Hatch experts, on row 3. They could be in with a chance here. This will be a 15-minute race. It'll be followed by a lunch break of around half an hour. Mark Shepherd gets the VW Vento into position. Rare car these days, that one. Green flag will be waved at the back of the grid. Then when the red lights go out, we will be underway. Revs begin to rise in the sunshine here at Brands Hatch, and off they go. Great start by David Griffin. Great start by Ian Bauer in his BMW as well. The Castrol liveried car there coming up, but it's Gary Preville who's got it right from the inside. He'll lead the way ahead of AJ Owen. David Griffin trying to get around the outside into paddock for the first time. They are all away cleanly. They dive down the dip into paddock, then up Halewood Rise. Gary Preville with a clear lead. AJ Owen in second place. David Griffin side by side with Ian Bauer. Not the best of starts by Don Hughes. He's under fire from the Civics of Cam Tunio, the yellow car, and Jamie Primet in the white machine on the outside. Good move by Tunio up the inside there. Makes up a couple of places. Andy Cripps next in the order. Then behind him it's the 147 of Matthew Rowling. But Gary Preville is already pulling away at the front of the field in his Honda Civic. Not the best of starts for Ross Craig there either. He's dropped back a bit as around they come for the first time. Ian Bauer in the CBM team liveried BMW there, the navy blue, red and green car, made famous in the Italian Touring Car Championship in years gone by the likes of Emanuele Naspetti. It's Preville with a clear lead, side by side almost for second. The two champions there, Owen and Griffin together. We've already seen AJ Owen's dad Craig in his Sierra Cosworth earlier. Cam Tunio runs a bit wide there, and off goes Jamie Primet, spinning off to the inside of Hale would rise there. AJ Owen sideways as well. He's out of shape. Loses out to David Griffin. What caused that? It's rare to see AJ Owen make a mistake like that. And Jamie Primet has walloped the tyre wall there at the front of his Honda Civic. That's a great shame because he would have been one of the favourites for some honours in this one. AJ Owen's got I think he's got a puncture, AJ Owen. Yeah, you can see on the left front there. So Owen slowing down. And that could end his rivalry here with Gary Preville early on. We normally see them inches apart for the whole race. David Griffin in second and leads the pre-93s. Cam Tunio up into third place overall. And AJ Owen is heading for the pits, surely. Side by side here, Don Hughes in the 306. Ian Bowers BMW, they're fighting for fourth place. AJ Owen dropping down the order. We know Jamie Primet's out of the race. And it's Gary Preville out on his own. He's raced a whole variety of modified saloon cars down at Castle Combe. Don Hughes under fire from Emanuelino Spetti, aka Ian Bauer, former pre-93 champion in his collection of BMWs. Right on the tail of Don Hughes. Don, an old-fashioned club racer, races his Peugeot anywhere it's eligible. I remember him rolling that car at Silverstone a few years ago. There's a green flag out there on Cooper Straight, so whether somebody's pulled up, I'm not sure. One car we seem to have lost is Trevor Kiffin's Alfa Romeo 75 at the back of the field. Andy Cripps closing in on Ian Bauer, then it's Matthew Rowling, then Kevin Willis. Had some success recently at Castle Combe in his yellow BMW. I think that's it's possibly the ex-Ray West car, I could be wrong. Ray, based at Thruxton, has raced classic saloons for many years. Behind Kevin Willis, we have got Ross Craig in his black and white camo liveried Honda Civic. And settling down then with Gary Preville in a clear lead, nearly 6 seconds clear already. Cam Tunio in the number 105 car. Local man from Sevenoaks, lives just down the road from Brands Hatch, chased by Don Hughes. Leading the pre-93s, it's David Griffin. Second pre-93 is Bauer and third Cripps, so BMWs to the fore in that one. Preville, Griffin and Hughes all leading their classes, as is Mark Shepherd's Volkswagen Vento leading Class C of the pre-93s further back. Pre-93 Class A led by Daniel Stewart in the Jaguar. I think he's the only entry in Class A. The pre-93 classes further back, pre-93 Class D is led by Andy Sheraton in the Laser Tools BMW. Pre-03 Class C by John Hillier in the BMW Estates. Jake Margulies leading Class E for the pre-93s. Those are your class leaders. With just under 11 minutes of this race to go. Cam Tunio cutting it fine there through Graham Hill Bend, chased by Don Hughes. It's the battle for third place. Don Hughes gets the better exit. He's up alongside, goes through. Don Hughes up to third. There's Sam Goodwin, the Astra GTE. Got a glimpse of there, the maroon coloured car, the Mark II Astra. He's further back in the order. Kevin Willis coming under fire from Matthew Rowling in the black Honda Civic. Ross Craig in behind them. Willis has just made up the place there. I think, yes, he's got to head into 7th overall. There goes Don Hughes, pulling away into third place in the Peugeot, but he's nearly 7 seconds down on the leader. David Griffin has got the gap down to 4.5 seconds to Gary Preville at the front now. David Griffin, the leading pre-93 runner. There is the Diet Coke liveried BMW. As David explained earlier on, in the 1990s, the Australian Super Touring Championship was dominated by the Diet Coke BMWs, run by the likes of Paul Morris, Jeff Brabham as well. Craig Baird, I remember racing them at the Bathurst 1000 as well when Super Touring cars ran in that event. Now back to the Aussie supercars, of course. Third place is Don Hughes, then Cam Tunio in the Snodhurst racing car, the local man. Racing a few different series, including the old domestic tin top series at Brands Hatch. Side by side here between a pair of Civics. Ross Craig trying to go around the outside of Matthew Rowling, and he's done it. Up into 8th position. Leaders getting slightly spaced out here, although Griffin took another half a second out of Gary Preville on that last lap. He wants an overall win here, David Griffin. Based in Lincolnshire, but born in Australia. Down Cooper Straight goes that beautiful BMW run by West Suffolk Racing. Number 90, Ian Bauer still under fire from Cripps, and it's Kevin Willis, Ross Craig, Matthew Rowling, and it's Phil Wright in the Castrol Civic rounding out the top 10. Used to race a Honda Accord in this championship. He's competed in the Honda VTEC Challenge as well. Here comes David Griffin. He's lapping Steve Barber in his Honda Civic. That's got a BTCC tribute livery on it as well. I noticed the Lego Star Wars colours there. They were run by Tom Chilton, I remember, several years ago. Jake Margulies has been lapped as well in his lovely E30 BMW. We'll see his dad David out later on in his Alfa Romeo in the pre-83 Group 1 touring car race. David Griffin continues to close down Gary Preville. He's lapping half a second a lap quicker than the Honda Civic ahead of him. There is the Civic. Jake Margulies running wide. The back marker's being shown the blue flags here because Don Hughes is closing up on them in the Peugeot. David Griffin. Headlights ablaze on the BMW. He's going after our race leader. There's Preville. Out of Clark Curve. Here comes Griffin. Can he catch the king of Castle Coombe? Over the line, there's that Calibre liveried Honda Accord. That's Alex Stevenson from Leeds. First time we've seen that car out in this championship, I believe. Where's our leader? There he is. There ahead of him, 2 cars ahead, the black BMW Touring, the estate car. Something a bit different. We've had a couple of estate cars racing British touring cars, of course. Back in the 90s there was the famous Volvo 850 estate, and Honda tried one year with the Civic Touring. So John Hillier, the BMW racer, has said, well, why can't I race an estate car then? Something a bit different. Here's the battle of the BMWs between Ian Bauer, Andy Cripps, Kevin Willis. They're being caught by Ross Craig, recovering from a poor start in his Honda Civic. Bauer to the inside, Cripps on the outside, and the Brands Hatch specialist goes round the outside in the green machine, but Bauer back up the inside, very late on the brakes there. Is he going to overshoot on the exit? Terrific fight between these two. This could almost be the mid-90s in BTCC. Joe Winkelhock, Steve Soper and company. Steve Soper still active in historic racing. This is Ford Mustangs, among other things, these days. And Kevin Willis behind them in his E36 M3. This is the battle for 4th place overall, 5th place overall, I should say. No, in fact, it is 4th place overall because we've lost Don Hughes. Unfortunately, the Peugeot has pulled into the pits. We didn't pick that up. So Don Hughes, last time around, has pulled into the pits. So the Peugeot has gone. It's now Cam Tunio up into 3rd place. Bauer and Cripps fighting for 4th. Cripps snaking a bit under braking there. It's Kevin Willis in 6th position behind them. And Ross Craig 7th. And Rowling, Wright and Mark Shepherd's Vento rounding out the top 10. Oh, but Cripps getting sideways there over the curb. He nearly lost it. Good recovery, but he's lost out to Kevin Willis. Could lose out to Ross Craig as well. 5 minutes of this race to go. They're lapping the Accord there as they come down Cooper Straights. Alex Stevenson letting them through. Still Gary Preville with the lead. Now what's the gap to David Griffin? 2.8 seconds this time through. So Gary Preville has upped his pace again. He knows that Griffin is closing in. They may be in different, well, not just different classes, but different championships. But Gary Preville wants another overall win in the pre-03 touring cars, sponsored by Simply Serviced. There is Gary Preville, the number 191 machine out in front. Comes from Southampton on the south coast. And there is David Griffin in the BMW. Over the curb there at Surtees. He wants an overall win. He wants to beat the pre-03s. Gary Preville possibly a bit disappointed that the guy he battles with in every race, they're always inches apart. AJ Owen unfortunately having to retire with some what looked like some front end damage in the early stages. He's in the pits. black and white flag has gone out for car 114 for exceeding track limits. That's Steve Barber running at the back of the field. If he does it again, he could risk a penalty. 3.5 minutes to go then for Gary Preville. The gap is now 3.18 seconds. Gary Preville has the fastest lap of the race, 54.1 seconds. David Griffin's quickest lap of the race of 54.5. So Preville's just about got the advantage here, and that bewinged Honda. He's locked up a little bit there in two clearways, runs a bit wide on the entry. He's gathered it up though. Coming up to lap one of the Honda Civics there. I think that's the car of Taylor Norton. Began his career just down the road from Brands Hatch at the Buckmore Park karting circuit. Won a few championships there, gets out of the way, lets Preville through. Away he goes, 191 Gary Preville. He's got the Astra of Sam Goodwin ahead of him now, and the Civic of Vic Hope, who's been racing at Brands Hatch for many years. Vauxhall Astra Mark II GTE, more famous perhaps as a rally car in the late 80s than a circuit race, although one did win the British Touring Car title in 1989 with John Cleland at the wheel. Whatever happened to him? He's been still active in historic touring cars more recently as well, in one of his old Vauxhall Vectras. CNX BTCC Vectra out today in the Classic Thunder race as well with Jason Hughes. There's Steve Barber, goes a lap down. Jake Margulies his lap for a second time as well as Gary Preville goes through. 2 minutes to go. That's the gap this time, 2.1 seconds. So that time through David Griffin able to close in a bit because Preville was dealing with back markers. Up towards Druids. Can David Griffin close the gap? Still leads the Pre-93 Championship division, sponsored by Laser Tools. Where's the Laser Tools liveried car? Andy Sheraton, 16th, leading Class D. Next car to be lapped, Daniel Stewart in the XJS. Seen him in the Jaguar Championship as well this weekend. Had to change his number for this one, you noticed that, to avoid a clash with another car. Gary Preville gets past him, no problem at all. 2 laps to go this time. Just over a minute on the clock. They should get one more lap in after this one. Preville with his lights on to warn the back mark as he's come in. The gap stays at 2.1 seconds. Cam Tunio still on for a podium in 3rd place. Expert on Brands Hatch. There's Phil Wright, the Castrol liveried Civic. I think he's still 9th overall. It's ahead of Mark Shepherd in that now rare Volkswagen Vento. Back in the 90s there was a one-make series for those, and for the Rover Tomcats as well. Good to see a few of those re-emerging onto the circuits recently, the Rovers. We've seen a few in the MG Cup as well, running with MGs young and old. Nice to see that drivers are finding homes for these former one-make race cars. There used to be a series in the 90s called the Super Coupe Cup that was basically a pool championship for defunct one-make series. We'd see Renault 5 Turbos, VW Polo G40s, the Rovers were in there, Honda CRXs as well. Memories of reading Autosport as a youngster back in the 90s. But anyway, enough nostalgia. We're on the last lap of this race now. It's going to be a win for Gary Preville. He's still 2.2 seconds clear of David Griffin. Griffin's going to win the Pre-93 split. Gary Preville is going to keep up his run of victories in the simply serviced Pre-03 Touring Car Championship following the demise of AJ Owen with some damage early on. Here he comes round the final corner at Clark Curve. Up towards the checkered flag. He may be the king of Castle Combe, but today he's the king of Brands Hatch. Gary Preville comes in to win the simply serviced Pre-03 Touring Car Championship. Well done to him. David Griffin comes over 2 seconds back in second. He wins the Laser Tools Pre-93 Championship split. And 3rd overall, quite a way back in the order, is going to be Cam Tunio in his Honda Civic. There he is. He just beats Kevin Willis home. Willis topping the battle of the BMWs further back ahead of Ian Bauer and Andy Cripps. 7th is Ross Craig in his Honda. And He will take third place behind Cam Tunio in the split for the pre-03s. Matthew Rowling behind him in 8th place. And the last 2 cars on the lead lap will be Phil Wright in his Honda Civic and Mark Shepherd in the Vento. Another victory for Gary Preville then, congratulations to him. Winning by just over 2 seconds ahead of David Griffin. 15 minutes, 40.529 seconds his winning time. We'll bring you the confirmed results, the provisional results I should say. Gary Preville the winner by 2 seconds ahead of David Griffin. They both win their respective championships, Pre-03 and Pre-93. Cam Tunio taking third overall, second in Pre-03. And Kevin Willis winning the Battle of the Beamers for 4th place ahead of Ian Bauer and Andy Cripps. Ross Craig taking 7th ahead of Matthew Rowling. Phil Wright in 9th place. And Mark Shepherd, a class-winning 10th in the VW Vento Pre-93 Class C, won by him ahead of David Nixon. Daniel Stewart wins Pre-93 Class A in 12th overall. And Vic Hope wins Pre-03 Class B, 13th in his Honda Civic. Sam Goodwin 14th and Taylor Norton completing the top 15. Behind him in 16th was Andy Sheraton winning Pre-93 Class D. The BMW Estates of John Hillier was next home. Pre-03 Class C goes to him in 17th. Alex Stevenson next, and then Jake Margulies in his BMW, also a class winner. Steve Barber the final finisher. We lost Don Hughes while running third, sadly. AJ Owen an early casualty, and of course we saw Jamie Primetz go off in the Civic. We also lost Trevor Kiffin early on in his Alfa Romeo. Okay, the results confirmed then, and that is going to take us into our lunch break here at Brands Hatch. A lunch break of about just over 20 minutes. Our next race will take place around 2:40, which is the CTCRC Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons. Get ready to be thunderstruck in that race. We will hopefully be able to hear from our race winner shortly down in the pits before we head to lunch. I think we can hand down to Ewan in Parc Fermé talking to Gary Preville.
Here in Parc Fermé with Gary Preville, qualified first and a win. What a morning for you.
Yeah, it's well, after yesterday and it was a tough day yesterday. I want to dedicate this win to the marshals out there, so yeah, this one's for you guys. I knew I had to get a great start. It was a punish for me yesterday. I got a collection with AJ off the start, and I thought I've got to get away well, and thankfully I did. I got a good start. Initially made some good ground, and then I just saw, I don't know if AJ had some problems, I'm assuming he did. I just saw him disappearing away in the distance. I just kept my head down and just kept it clean. I wasn't putting in amazing lap times, I knew that. I was just trying to keep off the curbs and just look after the car and just bring it home. I
mean, you seem to be in complete control of the race from start to finish, but just describe, because it is hot down here, how hot is it in the cars?
Oh, it's extremely hot. You know, obviously we don't have fans in the car. We close the windows so we don't get drag in the car. Obviously, full suit, balaclava, helmet. It gets pretty warm in the cars. Yeah, you need to hydrate well before you race for sure.
Well, Gary, great win. I'll let you get your zip down and cool down. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
And I want to get a chat with David Griffin as well. He is our winner in the pre-93 class. Where is David? We had a chat with him yesterday after qualifying. We'll just keep our eyes. Here he is, he's behind us. Can we grab you straight away? Fantastic. In the Diet Coke number 34 car. David Griffin, we spoke to you yesterday. You've turned your qualifier into a win.
Yeah, we got a really good start from people. I think everyone was just so devastated by what happened yesterday that no one was really thinking that much about the race. And once we got into it, it was good fun, and there was plenty of action in that first lap.
I mean, one thing we've not really asked today, because we don't want to touch on it too much, but as a racing driver, how does that affect you getting ready for the following day's racing? Does it become less important?
Oh, totally less important. I mean, it almost makes it irrelevant. You realise there's just so much more to it than that. And the flaggies in particular, they do an amazing job here, day in, day out, in all kinds of weather. And we don't tend to think of them as being in danger, and they really are. It's a great shout out to them.
Now, Kevin Willis qualified fourth. He was the closest to you. Did you see him in your mirrors?
I saw a lot of people in my mirrors at turn two. There were people going everywhere. And then we cleared out a little bit. I knew I had the pre-93 covered. Gary, I think, was just winding me up a bit, letting me get close a couple of times, and then we knocked the mirror off coming past some of the back markers. So there was plenty of action.
I mean, when you lose a mirror like that, does it make any difference?
Yeah, surprisingly it does, because as you're coming into corners, the last thing you check is to see if someone's on your inside, so it's a bit disconcerting, but we've driven without doors and mirrors before, so I'm used to it.
David, congratulations on a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Cheers.
Dave, back to you.